Newsfirst, Newsline.
A very good evening and welcome to another edition of Newsline, of course coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Your usual host, Farah Shaukat Ali, is out for the day. I'm Charlene Benedict and I will be sitting in for him today. Getting right down to it, of course, in the run-up to a presidential election, everybody debates on what is the real need of the hour here in the country. Every political party has their own take. On that note, let us get to know our guest for this evening. It's none other than Dr. Prasanna Kure, a candidate in the Colombo district from the National Democratic Front. Not in your mainstream parties, a party that came into being, of course, quite some time ago, but still only came into the forefront during the presidential election with the candidate that you contested. You were fielded for the presidential election. A very good evening, Doctor, and welcome to the show.
Good evening. First of all, if I make a small correction, the party is
National Democratic Front. Development Front, sorry.
Jatika Sanvardhana Peramuna.
Definitely. Doctor, now in this run-up to the general election, your party is one of the parties that actually survived since the presidential election. We saw a record number of candidates coming from a record number of parties contesting for the presidential election, but only a few survived or came out on their own to contest this general election. So kudos to you for that. But really, Doctor, what is the main issue in the country right now? Now we have the two main political parties debating on national security and saving Sri Lanka from external forces. The Prime Minister, giving a national address, said that, you know, issues surrounding the Cricket World Cup or a statement made by a former LTT cadre are not the real important matters in this country. It's securing the country from foreign conspiracies that is the true need of the hour, and for that they're asking for a two-thirds majority. Do you dispute this? Is this a real need?
Okay. Well, I mean, partly I agree that, you know, from time to time there come, you know, various topics for discussion which I think, you know, basically do not really even warrant coming to discussion on national scale. But anyhow, if a statement is made that, you know, international conspiracies is the problem of today, I think, you know, that could be something that I would be very ashamed of. Because, I mean, if we go back in history, Sri Lanka is well regarded for having very good foreign policy. And country's internal security is a good reflection of country's foreign policy. And especially during the times of Mrs. Bandaranaike. And in fact, you know, one can say that, you know, that was a tradition that was continuing for a while, which achieved its peak during the time of Mrs. Bandaranaike during 1970 to 77. We were not a rich country, we were a developing country, but we stood our ground on international arena, and as a non-aligned country, neither leaning towards the capitalist world nor the socialist world, we stood our ground and had a very strong foreign policy, and thereby even, you know, we were at certain times, we small country, we were dictating terms or giving a lesson or two even to bigger countries. So that was the spirit of foreign policy that we had. So if the state leaders say that, you know, the problems of today are international conspiracies, I suppose that's something for us to, you know, look inward towards our foreign policy as well as the national policies, and I think That's something very serious. That's something very serious for the governing or rather the government to think about.
And of course, given the fact that it was these two main political parties that has been governing Sri Lanka for the past 70 years since independence, also plays a crucial role in the point that you raised. Of course, Doctor, we will cross over to a short commercial break. To our viewers out there, don't go anywhere. You're watching Newsline. We will be right back.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
අවුරුදු 31කට පසු ප්‍රේමදාස කොළඹට රටම කොළඹට කොළඹ ප්‍රේමදාසට සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස අංක 20 සමගි ජනබලවේගය.
Playing this weekend on Yes 101.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton.
What's up? It's Hollywood Hamilton. You know what we do around here. It's the fastest moving countdown in America. Some of the biggest names in the industry in the studio.
Hi, I'm Ariana Grande.
This is Drake.
This is Lady Gaga.
Backstage with us and on the WT30 hotline. I'll catch you this weekend for the Weekend Top 30.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton on Yes 101.
රට ජාතිය වෙනුවෙන් මුළු ජීවිතේම කැප කළ ඒ අභීත රණවිරුවා ඔබේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය රැක ගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට යවමු. ෆීල්ඩ් මාර්ෂල් සරත් ෆොන්සේකා ඔබේ මනාපය අංක 18ට ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයෙන් සමගි ජනබලවේගය.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. We're in discussion with Dr. Prasanna Kure from the National Development Front. He's a candidate contesting the general election from the Colombo district. Doctor, we were speaking about what the real issue here in Sri Lanka is. You said that, according to the Prime Minister, if it is international conspiracies that we really need to worry about, it's a shame that Sri Lanka has to worry about international conspiracies at a time like this, because we had such a great foreign policy even during the time of the Second World War. Doctor, let me bring you to an alternate topic then. What is really the need of the hour here in Sri Lanka, according to your view?
Well, there would be, many areas that need to be considered right now, because I think, basically what I see, the entire country is in real mess. The economy is in dire straits, and the social life is in jeopardy. And apart from that, another very huge issue that I see and I have about which I am very concerned about, that's environment. Today's environment is in the receiving end, and there are so many issues that are impacting on the country's environment. So, and on top of that, I suppose there is a very valid reason for us to be very concerned about our environment, because we are going through this era of climate change. So climate change is something that which has come to stay globally. And apart from that, Sri Lanka is regarded as one of the countries which are worst hit by climate change. We experience this day to day. The good examples are we are not receiving rains on proper time, and when it rains, it rains so heavily, and which would end
Flood the entire country.
With flooding, and at the same time you would see flooding in one part of the country while drought is in the other part of the country. I mean, these are things which we never experienced, say, 3-4 decades back. So here, something we see on day-to-day basis, and also which is palpable, so undeniable. So in a country, especially in a country where climate change has affected so much, and especially research has shown that Sri Lanka, according to research, according to one, Sri Lanka is considered second most vulnerable country, and according to the other, seventh most vulnerable country. So this is the dimension of this problem, magnitude of this problem. So in a country like this, so we are encountering all these environmental problems, starting with this cancellation of permits to transport sand, and from there thereafter
removing the circular that protected the forest,
leading up to removal of the circular 5/2001. So in between, and also very many things like this aloe vera plantation in Vilpattu, and also this apple farm project in Pidurtaragala reserve, and the Calido beach, what we experienced in Mount Lavinia, where within a matter of a week or so, that 890 million rupees was just washed away back to the sea.
Has it settled along the beaches that they said that it will settle along?
Yeah, exactly. And again, the political scenario, the backdrop of that was the time when the country was asking for padibage, half of the salary from the government servants. So that was the time all the 890 million was just dumped onto this project, and we saw.
I think, Doctor, you just highlighted a few incidents that happened in the recent times, but of course this is an ongoing debate. It's how do you strike a balance between conserving the environment and development projects. Of course, successive governments that came into power seem to be favoring development projects, of course, because that's the area probably where they could make a quick buck, and the conservation of the environment is only costly, and the income of that cannot be thrown into pockets and be converted into money. Of course, we will continue this interesting discussion with a candidate contesting from the National Development Front right here in the Colombo district after this short break. Don't go anywhere, you're watching Newsline on TV1.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
London A-level students, complete your Edith Cowan University degree in 2 years in Sri Lanka and transfer for your masters to the top 100 universities in the world. ECU is ranked 9th in the world for quality education and 1st in Australia for starting salaries, with notable alumni such as Hugh Jackman, Dominic Parcell and Jai Courtney.
Granting concessions for electricity bills postponed. Another proposal to the cabinet next week. Sri Lanka Air Force to get 4 used helicopters. Central Bank of Sri Lanka further reduces policy interest rates to a historic low. Mangala Samaravira for the first time reveals his dreams of the presidency.
ඔබට ජනාධිපති සිහිනයක් නැහැ.
අපිට තියෙන ඕ හැම කෙනෙකුටම තියෙන. නමුත් ජනාධිපතිතුමා සිහිනයක් තිබුණ පළියට ඡන්දත් වැටෙන්න එපා.
Heavy rains reported. Be cautious about lightning.
London A-level students, complete your Edith Cowan University degree in 2 years in Sri Lanka and transfer for your masters to the top 100 universities in the world. ECU is ranked 9th in the world for quality education and 1st in Australia for starting salaries, with notable alumni such as Hugh Jackman, Dominic Parcell and Jai Courtney.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline here on TV1. We're in discussion with Dr. Prasanna Kure, the candidate right here in the Colombo district from the National Development Front. Dr. Prasanna Kure, we spoke about the issue of balancing off the need for development with the need to conserve the environment for the future. Of course, you're a candidate contesting for the general election, and you don't seem to be too happy about the government's policy on conserving the environment. What sort of change would you usher have you been elected to Parliament?
That's with regard to
the issues surrounding the environment.
Yeah. I suppose, environment and development, we got to strike a balance between the two. And I suppose in this regard, the most important thing is you got to define what is meant by development very clearly. Development for whom and for what purpose? And I think with regard to development, any development project, the most important thing is it should be aimed at people, and the people should be the real beneficiaries of these projects. And the thing with regard to environment is the development project should take place while also safeguarding the environment.
Dr. Prasanna Kure, we're getting a question from one of our viewers out there. He asks, what is your opinion of our politicians? Why are they not taking any steps to protect our environment? And also, he makes a statement and he says they are not interested to do the needful for the climate change issue here in Sri Lanka.
Exactly. I got to be very thankful to this viewer because you have really put the nail on the head. Because I think now this is the very issue, because the caliber of, I would say, caliber of most of our politicians is this. They are not aware of the socio-economic and environmental issues which impact the politics, and they are basically concerned about the power politics only. Now this is the brand of politics that is played in Sri Lanka, and this is the brand of politicians that we see here in Sri Lanka. And it's a real tragedy. You see, in none of the political parties they talk about the environmental issues that the country faces today. And as I said before, there are a number of issues, but we don't see any of the mainstream political parties taking on these issues. Because the thing is, the agenda is the same. Now, in fact, I would go a step further and say, when we say major political parties, well, we got to, put it right by saying what they have is, just one agenda, and there are various political parties who are there to tow this agenda. And when you say various political parties, they are different only by the names or their colors only. But their ultimate objective or ultimate agenda.
Dr. Prasanna Kure, now you come in as an alternative to this current political culture here in Sri Lanka. What would you propose that could be done, of course, within this coming parliament? Why should the people really vote for the National Development Party front?
Yeah, I suppose the most important thing is that we have to realize that the politics in this country had been moving along on a wrong track altogether. As I said before, the politics in this country had been centered around power, or it's a case of a power struggle only. The issues like social development, social security, environment, eradication of poverty, these things are very secondary in this whole scenario of power struggle. So actually we go with a totally different agenda, and we place the country's development agenda and the country's social agenda and environment all in a same, we give same weightage for all these. So this is the package that we are presenting to the people, and we are requesting people to think differently, think intelligently, and look back, what had happened over the years, and the brand of politics that had been played in Sri Lanka ever since independence, that is a kind of discarded politics in today's global political context. So, as an alternative, we are proposing this, and I think this is the kind of politics which had really changed the world over the years, and in fact now this wave had come to South Asia, and these alternative politics, first it emerged in Pakistan through Imran, who took I think 20-25 years to
rise to power,
and this had come in a very big way to Delhi by now, and this gentleman Arvind Kejriwal had become and his party has become a real force to reckon with in India, and now we hear that it's spreading across India, and we think and we expect this wind of change should now blow to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lankan voters, Sri Lankan population should be receiving this. They should be the recipient of this. So it's a same kind of politics that we advocate, and that is people-centered, and which shed this big idea of grabbing more and more power. This is the order of the day that we experience today. Say, for example, now even with regard to this present election, we hear the ruling party asking for 2/3 majority, and I'm sure the country hasn't forgotten what it had been the few times the country where the governments had 2/3 majority in 70 to 77, and from 77 to 1989. In all these years there were very massive bloodshed in this country. So now these are the things that people should think about, and also this would help them to understand what kind of an agenda that the rulers have for the country and its people.
So do you see Sri Lanka attaining this goal that you spoke of in any time soon? Moving out of this this predatory sort of political nature here in the country.
Yeah, so I suppose here again it's the ball is in the voter's court. So the voter has to take a very very correct, informed decision. So so everything lies with the voter. So this is why in this particular election we are expecting to talk to the intelligence of the voter, and not to the heart but to the brain of the voter, not to talk on this the sensitive issues or bringing in sentiments into politics, but rather than to take politics in a different note, and where we would talk on the need of bringing in a change.
And that's how it was on Newsline today on TV1. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be here and meet you same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, take care and God bless. That's it from Newsline for today.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
මට වෙන්නේ 400
බණ 99ක් විතර ඉන්නවා සෙනග. නේ? 500 ඉන්නවද? මම 499 ගෙන් නෙවෙයි. මට මං ගණන් කරලා බලනකොට 499 මට. 500ට අඩුයි. ඒකින්ද නීත්‍යානුකූලව අඩේ හරියට කරලා තියෙනවා. අජිත් එක 500යි. අජිත් එක 500යි. ඒ මොකද නීතියට අනුව වැඩ කරන්න ඕනනේ අපි. ඒකින්ද නීතියට අනුව 500යි.